Good evening, good evening, good evening, beautiful people. It's Kimberly Cleveland, the Good Thing Guru, coming to you live. Happy to be here this evening. We weren't on last Tuesday evening. I hope everyone enjoyed their Labor Day holiday. I know I was. I happened to be in Vegas with my son and got the opportunity to see Bruno Mars and kick off September. So tonight I'm excited to be back with you. If it is your first time joining us, let me introduce myself. Again, I am Kimberly Cleveland, affectionately known as the Good Thing Guru. I am a relationship coach and life coach who focuses on helping single women who want to be intentional about preparing for marriage, right? I'm also here tonight doing this series um, out of my pain and also out of my passion and purpose, which is just in general to help women thrive, right? To help them navigate this thing called life and relationships. I have found many like me who have gotten married, but also who have gotten through a divorce. And I'm here this in this series wanting to really reach out to women who find themselves in that place, right? Struggling to find life after divorce, struggling to navigate their way through divorce and come out on the other side and still step boldly into their future with purpose and passion, with more clarity about how life will be, right? And so I have been bringing speakers in every Tuesday evening in order to fulfill that ministry of helping other women who might have found themselves in the same space that I was in. Life is good, right? Life is good. And we are here to help serve others. And I'm here to do that as a relationship and life coach and help those through this difficult season. I'm excited about our guest tonight. We are going to have an organic conversation. In the past, if you've been joining us, there have been specific questions that I've asked. But tonight, I really want to let Holy Spirit have its way and really just have an organic conversation tonight. So without further ado, let me introduce our speaker of the hour, who is here to have this organic conversation with me, Miss Stacey Crawley.
Hello.
Good evening, Stacey. Let me officially read your bio.
Awesome.
Stacey is a passionate, certified transformational coach, speaker, and author of Becoming Her. As the CEO of Ignite Her Purpose LLC, she helps high achieving women, faith driven women break free from emotional cycles and release the pain and reconnect with God so that they can step boldly into their purpose, right? She is divinely made for this conversation tonight. Through her coaching, workshops, and powerful speaking engagements, Stacey creates a nurturing space for healing, self love, and spiritual alignment. Her personal journey of transformation fuels her mission to help women overcome self doubt, imposter syndrome, and limiting beliefs so that they can come fully become the woman God has created them to be, right? Whether on stage, in a session, or in her book, Stacey equips women to reclaim their worth, walk confidently into their calling, and live with intention, joy, and bold faith. How are you this evening, Stacey?
I am feeling great. How are you, Kimberly?
I'm wonderful. Life is good. Like I said, I have no complaints. Excited about this new season we're walking into fall. We're transitioning out of summer into fall, and many people find themselves in a place of transition, and that's why we're here tonight to help them navigate that transition. Once was married, now having gone through a divorce, maybe it's been a couple years since they've gone through a divorce and they still find themselves still struggling and picking up the pieces. And that's why we're here tonight to give them some encouragement and some tips and some tools to help them navigate their way so that they can step boldly into their future, right? So tell
Awesome.
us a little bit about your marital story. I've been asking everybody this so that we kind of have a foundation. I know for me, those who may be joining us tonight and not know my story, is that I have been married not once but twice. and divorced twice, right? Being married and a mother was my greatest aspiration, right? Even before the career aspirations. I was raised by my grandparents who were married over 60 years. So I got to see what a long, healthy, uh, lasting marriage looked like, right? From the outside, right? Wasn't there on the inside. But I really wasn't trained in what was required and what it took for a marriage to work. And so I say this work is my purpose, but it's also my and my passion, but it's also comes from a place of pain, right?
Mhm.
And so tell us a little bit about your marital story.
Well, so in my case, my ex-husband and I, we actually met when we were teenagers. And so I was just about to graduate high school. We met through a mutual friend. And we met, and it was love at first sight for me and him. And we were inseparable. I went away to college. We stayed in touch, had a long distance relationship. And throughout the time we were together, we decided to get married. We were, I think I was about 23, 24, and we got married, got our house, had our kids, did everything the right way, so to speak, societally speaking. And it just didn't work out. We were together about almost 20 years total, but we were married for about 12. And that's that.
Right,
So that was
right.
my story. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's funny. The first thing I want to hone in on is you said you were about 23, 24, and that's about the age I was. I was 24 in the first marriage, and my husband was 23. And
Mhm.
so, at those tender years, I don't know if you would agree or not, but you just don't know what you don't know,
Mhm.
right? As
Mhm.
much as you think you know, as much as you might have read, as much as you might have maybe, watched your parents, if they were, if you came from a two-parent household, or like me, I was raised by a single mother, but like I said, my grandparents were married, a long time. And so I
Mhm.
got to see some good things. I got to see some bad things. I don't think that I had, um, this butterfly, unicorn rainbows. I knew it was going to take work, but I also didn't know what I didn't know. Like I didn't know necessarily what to look for in a partner.
Mhm.
We got married, fell in love. I don't know if it was love at first sight, but it definitely was like after the third date, like the sparks were flying, and we pretty much were inseparable. But this thing called marriage, whew,
Mhm. Mhm.
it was a lot I did not know, a lot.
Yes.
Um, and I think at 23 and 24, knowing what I know now, getting ready to turn 54 this month, is
Mhm.
that, I really didn't even know me back then.
Yes.
I
Yes.
didn't
I
even
have
really
to agree
know
with
me.
you. I have to
Yeah.
agree because I think in my situation, I come from a single parent household as well. And I didn't know, and I didn't have any type of example of what a healthy relationship, a healthy marriage looks like. I didn't see any marriages around me except for I think my two aunts, but I wasn't around them enough to see how their marriages were, right? And
Mhm.
so I know in my specific situation, I had this idealistic view based on looking at Disney movies and all of these things, right? And even having that quote unquote clock, right? Okay, by this time I'm going to do this and then I'm going to get married, and not really looking at the marriage, but looking at the wedding. This is what I want my wedding to look like. It's going to be beautiful, gorgeous, but not really understanding, okay, there's a marriage after this. And did I take the time to really get to know me? Do I know them enough to commit myself and become one with this person during that time in my life? So I agree with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, I think moving in on the other side of that is like beating yourself up for like, oh my God, I wish I had known. Why didn't I
Mhm.
know why didn't I know what to look for in a partner? Why didn't I know this is what was expected of me? Or
Mhm.
why didn't I know just, how to relate to the opposite sex? I mean,
Yes.
that's a huge, a huge part of it. And I think that's why I'm so passionate about the work that I do. What is one thing you would tell your 24-year-old self now, looking back?
I would tell her that one, she is absolutely beautiful in where she is in her life and who she is. I would tell her that there are more things to come, and to give herself grace and compassion, and not to be so hard on herself. And to understand that everything that she's going to go through is just going to shape her into the person that God is creating her to be. And I would definitely tell her that, because I know me, I was definitely hard on myself. Very, very, very hard on myself. I think I still deal with that from time to time now, to be honest with you. But it's not as bad as it was before when I was at that age. So I would tell her that, and I would tell her to take time to really get to know who she is and understand how God sees her, and really get into alignment with, him.
Yes, absolutely. I love that. I totally agree with that. I think I would tell my 24-year-old self the same thing, but I think the other thing that I struggled with, that again, that came out as a result of being married and going through divorce, is to deal with that past pain. I had abandonment issues because my father was not in the home. Like I knew him. He was in my life somewhat. I don't remember, but I've seen pictures, right?
Yeah.
So I always had this question in the back of my mind, like, why isn't he here? And I struggled with, maybe I wasn't good enough. Maybe I wasn't lovable. Maybe, just looking for that love of a father and a man.
Yes.
And when I thought whatever semblance of love was, I clinged onto that. I would tell her, let's deal with that first.
Yes.
Right? Before reaching for something else. And as you said, to go back and, talk to God about who he created me to be, to really anchor myself in that relationship, in the love of that father, right?
Yeah.
And who he created me to be, and his love, before I stepped into this love of another person, and to learn myself. Like you said, I was very critical of myself, very much. Some people believe in the zodiac signs or not. I'm a Virgo. I am a type A personality. I can be a perfectionist. Praise God, I have been delivered from that. But so and being raised by a single mother, at times I felt she was critical of me. And so giving ourselves grace, no matter where we are in our journey, is so important. I love that you touched on that. So tell us a little bit, I said past pain. What were some of your past pain struggle points?
You mean from childhood prior to marriage, or during the marriage? Okay. So I would say prior, I would say that I dealt with a lot of self-esteem issues. I was the one in the family who was a little bit chunkier than the others. I didn't necessarily speak the way that others in my family spoke. And I was teased for that. Oh, you're the white girl. You're this. You're ugly. You're fat. And I heard that on a consistent basis from cousins and things like that. And even people that I went to school with, I would go through things like that. I remember there were two guys that I liked in middle school and high school that I actually liked. And I was like, oh, and I was a late bloomer. So I just liked people. It wasn't, and so I found out one of the guys was like, oh, he said to me, oh, you'll be beautiful when you're older. Right. Or the other one just stopped talking to me. And so I just started to internalize all of these things and say, oh my goodness, like there must be something wrong with me. And if these people don't like me, and then, my ex-husband comes along during that time and he's interested and we're like developing this whole situation, I'm like, I'm going to cling on to that, red flags and all. I'm going to cling on to those things because I didn't see myself a certain way, because I was looking at how other people saw me, and I defined myself and how I saw myself based on what other people said about me. And so those are definitely things that I would say definitely contributed to a lot of my pain. I had low self-confidence. I didn't believe that I was good enough. I didn't believe that I was worthy of anything great, unfortunately. But because, like I said, if you're hearing all these things consistently, you start to wonder what's wrong with
Right.
me. And so those are the things that I dealt with. And I think those things kind of filtered over into my adulthood and, even through my marriage, because there were times where I was expecting him to be my everything from an emotional standpoint. I want you to be my therapist, my counselor. I want you to hold all of this space for me because of everything that I dealt with. And so it was a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. How did that, I'm beginning to think of how did that then, like you said, translate into your marriage, and you answered it. You were like, I had him hold this space for me that really no one really can hold, right? We can help somebody with
Right.
what they've dealt with in the past, but they can't be the end all be all, right?
Exactly.
And that, like you said, you've got to be able, and one of the things I'm very passionate about is seeking help, asking for help, right? And that means outside of your partner.
Yes.
You might have to go to a therapist and deal with some stuff by
Yes.
yourself, and then bring your partner in to help you
Exactly.
carry that load. Yes, your partner's there to help you carry the load, but they're not there to carry the whole load, right?
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
they may not have all the professional tools that a therapist or psychologist might have to help you deal with those things.
And
But
they
I
may
would,
also be, and I didn't mean to cut you off, I'm sorry, but they also may not be in a space where they can handle their own emotions. You know what I mean? So they're not able to handle yours. So it can come out from them. It could be what am I trying to say? The word is stoic, or you feel like they don't care, or you start to internalize that, because some people, you meet them where they are, right? Some people can only love you to the extent of what they know or how they've been raised. And so you come into it with a certain perspective and your traumas and your hurt and your pain. And then you're expecting this person who has such a certain level of capacity, and you're expecting them to hold all of this. And it's chaos waiting to happen. So
Absolutely. Yeah. Sometimes it's you got two unhealed peoples coming into the relationship, and they both have baggage. A lot of times life is life. So we've all been through something, right?
Exactly.
So yeah, so now you're in the marriage, you're trying to navigate those things. Those things are compounding. And then, like you said, then you've got children that are introduced into it. For me, the first marriage, I did not have a child, thankfully. The second marriage, I was pregnant at the time that we got married. And so that then became, even compounded the problems that we were having, because now we're introducing a child into this. And now, how are we going to navigate that? Right? I had abandonment issues, and now I was feeling even more guilty and depressed going through the divorce of, now my child is not going to have a father in the home. And the weight of that, right? That just compounded the guilt, the shame that I was already feeling. I know you have 4 beautiful daughters. How was that for you?
I'm just going to exhale because I will tell you, we actually have been separated for 4.5 years, divorced for 3.5. It has been challenging. It was definitely challenging, more challenging in the beginning, because I didn't want the divorce, right? It just were circumstances around it where I had to get the divorce, but I didn't want to get divorced. I wanted to be married. I wanted to have the core family, and my kids grew up in the 2-parent household. That was my goal, my dream. But when that was taken away, I think what hurt me the most is to see the sadness on my kids' faces. And not necessarily my younger ones, which are my twins. They're 6 now. They were about 2 then, so they didn't quite understand what was going on. But my 2 oldest. And so to be able to be in that space for them, to hold that space for them, and to seek help for them, therapy for them, it was devastating for me. My oldest daughter, she was having meltdowns at school, crying on the playground and all of that. And so those things broke me, and I'm going through my own pain at the same time, and having to parent through the pain, right? So because life still goes on, right? I have to get up, I have to fix lunches, I have to do dinner, I have to grocery shop, I have to do all the things to still hold myself together, but still also be there for my kids. And that was grueling for me because I felt like, wow, I did all of this. I thought I did things the right way and it just didn't work out. And I felt unworthy yet again. I felt low. I felt depressed. I felt like, wow, I felt like a failure.
Mm-hmm.
So that was very tough. Very tough.
Absolutely. I can identify with all of that. You know, my child was unborn at the point that we were going through the separation.
Mm-hmm.
And then it actually took 6 years for the divorce to go through because me, like you, I didn't want the divorce. I had already gone through one. So I told them, if you want a divorce, you're going to have to file for it. And it took them 6 years to finally file for it. We were, separated during that whole time. But it's like, it's hard when your child starts going to school and it's like, well, they see other people's dad showing up and picking them up. Well, where's my dad? Those type of things. And like you said, it's very real that you still have to parent through the pain. Oh, that part. I was like, oh, that part. And it's tough. It's tough. Thank God that, I found outlets that gave me space to be able to, just like you said, breathe during those difficult moments. I know the saving grace for me was Arundel Mills has the Egyptian 24 movie theaters. And back when it first opened, you could come and drop your child off if they were if they were potty trained, you could drop them off and go to a movie. I would do that every Friday relentlessly. I don't care if I wanted to see the movie or not. That was just my me time to just kind of breathe. Because it was a lot. It was a lot. My abandonment issues now can't trying not to impose those on my child. And my child had a difficult time in school. He had ADHD. And so I was getting calls every day. It's just like, okay, what now? In the midst of trying to get this other person to reconcile and go to counseling, dealing with my own shame and guilt and the depression, fighting that so that I could show up and be the best parent I could, but still having the moments, like you said, that I still was feeling like a failure over here as a mom too.
Yes.
And it's a lot.
It's a lot.
It is a lot. So what have been some things that helped you kind of navigate the parenthood and also navigate just life after divorce?
Well, number one is definitely my relationship with God. When I tell you, I went through a period when everything first happened, right? I went through a period where I felt like I need to find myself, right? I ain't going to find Stacey because I got married young. I didn't really know me. So this is the time for me to really understand me so that I can understand what I need to do going forward, right? So I did a lot of different things. I took myself out on dates. I went to different things. I did paint and sips. I hung out with friends. I went to like a rage room. I just did any and everything that I thought, like hobby-wise, that I thought would bring me some sort of peace or joy or something that would lift my spirits. But it was only temporary. And what I realized was that when I finally sat down and I stopped going and going and going and going, because every time my girls would go with their dad every other weekend, my ex-husband, and I would do something every single weekend. I was booked from Friday to Sunday, right? Just so that I didn't have to think about everything that was going on around me during that time. And it was one weekend, God was like, I need you to stay in the house. I need you to sit down. I need you to open up your Bible and I need you to pray. And from that time, I said, okay, Lord, I am running from myself and I'm running from you. Because only God can bring me that. He's the only one that can mend that broken heart that I had. He's the only one that could fill that space that I was dealing with from my past, right? Even before I got married, even before I met my ex-husband, only he's the one that can heal those broken spaces that I had for so long. And so I would say God is the first and only thing I would say that has kept me going. Just getting into my word, just seeing myself through God's eyes, through reading the pages of the Bible. It's just like, God is like, you're the salt of the earth. Like, just to hear that you are an heir and a joint heir with Jesus Christ. Like, these are things that God feels and thinks about me. And I'm just like, wow. So it started to get me to thinking like, wow, I need to change how I view myself, how I see myself. And it completely changed my outlook. And it has given me a level of peace that nobody can take away. And yes, I do still have days where it's challenging and it's overwhelming, but it's not the level of depression that I felt before when everything was going on previously.
Yes, so good. Oh, our stories are so similar. That definitely was the first thing that I did. Even more so for me, because like I said, this is my second divorce, from that standpoint. The first marriage, I actually got baptized while he was he was in the military. So while he was out on deployment, I had started going to a church and got baptized. And so in the second marriage, it was really feeling like I had disappointed God, right? And that somehow I not only had failed my marriage, but I also had failed God. And so I really just, and the devil was beating me up left and right. I felt like I wore the scarlet letter, right, in the church. And like, whether it was true or not, some of it was, but it was like, oh my gosh, she's been married once and now she's been married twice. Like, you are just, the scarlet letter.
Yeah.
And it was like, but I had to not project that onto how God saw me, like you said. And that God was still with me even in the midst of it. Not only was he with me, he still loved me. He didn't love me any less because I was now going through a divorce. And I really had to come to grips with that because, I struggled. I struggled with one, not only it being the second divorce, but, sometimes you can get into, well, why are you getting a divorce? And then it's not a biblical divorce. And I was just like, it's too much.
It's too much.
And I was in such a deep depression that one day I just really looked in the mirror and just said, enough is enough. And I literally just spoke to the devil and I said, I'm sick and tired of you beating me up and you trying to tear me down. I'm sick and tired of being depressed. And I just got in my word and I just had to really just start throwing those darts that he was trying to throw back at me. Had to start throwing back truth. And like, I will no longer be a victim of divorce. Yes. God has given me victory in everything and he will give me victory in this. And that's really what gave me my power back. Right. And really God's like, you can't control somebody else. You can only control you. And literally, I know for 7 years, Stacey, like you said, it was really about working on myself as a woman and really just getting deep in my word and really solidifying that relationship with God, that he will be my end all be all, no matter what he was throwing at me, so that nothing could shake my world again. Right. And that I could find that love that I was looking for in another person, in God, and also love myself.
Yes.
Even ask somebody else to love me. Right. Because I found when I did that self-work that I was really being who I thought other people needed me to be, wanted me to be, whether that was my parents, family, society. And I gave myself permission to just say, who are you at your core, right? And what is it that you want? Who is it that you want to be? And show up as that. Right?
Yes, absolutely.
And that's really what gave me power to be able to press my way on. And I really just focused on being the best mom I could be to my child, because my child didn't ask for this, right? Yes. And so I was going to be the best mom that I could be.
I love it.
Yeah. And so, as we talk about, we talked a little bit about emotionally, mentally, spiritually, kind of how to navigate your way out of those struggles, right? As you're processing, as you're going through divorce, and we've all said it in every session I've done, no one intends to get a divorce when they enter into marriage,
Nope.
right?
Nope.
But you find yourself there and you're like, whoo, now what? Now what? So after you have kind of picked yourself up, you've gotten back into your word, you've strengthened your relationship with Christ, with God. What was your next move?
My next move was asking God, what do you want me to do? Because I know that there's something that you purpose in me. And I know that I was already running a business as a speaker, a coach, and an author, author of my first book. But I knew that there was something that God had in me that I needed to birth, which was my new book that just was launched in March of this year, Becoming Her. And so I knew that I couldn't go as fast and as hard as I wanted to, just because and I don't want to say because I have kids, right? But my first priority are my kids. But I knew that my purpose in telling my story was the next thing. That was me being obedient to God to say, listen, I went through this and it happened, but it doesn't stop here. It's not just with me. It's other women who are going through this situation, who have gone through this situation. You need to tell your story. And it's not about putting your business out there or being afraid to say what happened. Is really understanding, like, just if you can reach the one person with your story, with your message, with your book, with your coaching, whatever it is that God has purposed in you, if once you hear him and listen to him obediently, right? Once you hear from God and you move in that space, just the one that you can bless and help them along their path. So that was the next thing for me, was writing my book and doing speaking engagements and just putting my story out there, because I wanted to be able to be a blessing to another woman. So
yes, that really, owning my story was really the biggest piece of my healing story.
Yeah.
I was always afraid, as people was like, well, are you married? And then for me to have to say, yeah, I've been married, and I've been married twice. I never really wanted to own that.
Yeah.
Because I was afraid of how I would be perceived. I did not want, again, that shame and that guilt, I hadn't really figured out how to get free of that. But once I owned my story, right? That was the biggest part of my healing journey. And then what even empowered me even more was then being able to tell my story, as you said, in the hopes that it might help someone else out. And that really was when I got the victory, was that, I was like, you know what, you're trying to use this, devil, right, to tear me down, to tear my family down, me and my son down. But really, God is going to use this. It says, the word says, God will use it for your good, right?
Yes.
So not only was it a lesson for me, but it's a testimony to somebody else. We're not the only ones who are going through this. Many others are going through this. And so I really just said, if I can take what I've gone through and help somebody else not have to go through what I've gone through, or use what I've gone through to help somebody else come back out of it, then that's what I'm going to do. Right.
Yes.
And that's when I really was set free. It was when I could own the story and then also use my testimony to help somebody else.
It's about reclaiming your voice, right? Sometimes you go through things and you shrink, and and it's about really allowing your voice to be heard, because it's valuable and someone needs to hear it. So
yes. And I still have to tell myself that sometimes. That they're like, oh, nobody wants to hear me. There's so many voices, on social media. I was like, oh, I'm not saying anything different than anybody else. Like, the saying goes, there's nothing new under the sun. But no one can tell your story like you tell your story. And sometimes, again, who you connect with, other people might not be able to connect with. So don't let that stop you from using your voice, because somebody out there, like you said, it's part of your purpose. Somebody is waiting to hear your voice.
Yeah.
It may not be for everybody, and that's okay. Once you accept that, it may not be for everybody. That's okay. But it is for somebody.
Yeah, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just wanted to say, that, and I just want to piggyback on what you said, and we have to understand that our voice, our way of bringing our story to the marketplace or to people's lives through our ministry and how we speak, there's certain people that are assigned to you divinely, specifically,
Mm-hmm.
right? So there are people that are going to, that God has already went ahead, and those are your people, right? There are people that are waiting specifically for the way that you deliver it, the tone in your voice, your posture, your body language. There are people that resonate with so many different people. And so that's why I used to be in that same place when I used to say, oh my gosh, there's so many coaches, there's so many speakers, there's so many authors, but nobody can do what I can do. No one can tell my story. No one has lived my specific story, or no one is me, because I am one of a kind, period. Right? So, yeah.
Yeah. So, you've got to be able to own your story, and don't ever let someone use your past or your present against you. It is what it is. And it's still a beautiful thing. And that's why I say I still have much hope that I will one day be remarried again. I always say I'm gonna die believing that, because I believe in the institution of marriage. If God created it, it is good. And whether I get married again or not, I want to put that hope back into other people, right? Because I want God to get all the glory. It is man who has done something wrong, not God. It's some principle that we're not following that God has put out there that has led us to this place. And it's okay if we fall. It's okay if we stumble. It's okay if we don't get it right. Like I started off saying, he's still there with you in the midst. He still wants you to come to the throne and ask for his help, for his wisdom. And his love is always there for you. He is gunning for you. He is gunning for you to win, right? Like you said, we are his beloved daughters. We are his baby girls. And so we have a special place in his heart, and he wants us to win no matter what we've gone through. He just wants us to come.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. So how have you, again, you talked about, your purpose. The second thing you did was really go to God and talk about your purpose. And you talked a little bit about some of the things first coming out of the divorce that you went to find joy. Talk a little bit about now, 4 years out, what your life looks like, how you have stepped boldly into your future. How does it look different now than it did, say, 4 years ago when you were first coming through it?
Wow. I'll say now I am definitely a lot more, what is the word that I try to say? Definitely a lot more confident in myself. I'm confident in God and what he does, and what he can do in and through me. I know my worth now than I have ever known before, because I've done the work, and I understand now who I am. And it's not based on what I think, but how God sees me. And so now I think I'm more in a place where I love Stacey. I love me, flaws and all. There was a time where I didn't even want to look in the mirror because I didn't like what I saw. And so I love me. I love everything about me, and anything that I don't like, I can change it, whether it's my weight, my hair, whatever that thing may be. I have the ability to change it. And I also am more confident in knowing that God has put something in me that only I can bring forward, right? And so it's challenging sometimes when you have certain callings on your life, and that God has called you to do certain things. Sometimes it could be a little heavy to carry, but I know that God, if he brings you to it, he's going to give you provision to bring it forth to fruition. I am definitely a lot happier, definitely more at peace. Things can get a little overwhelming at times, having 4 young kids, but I take time to regroup. I take time to do self-care. I definitely love on myself a lot more, and I give myself a lot more grace. So I think that that's definitely it, and I know that I am definitely enough. So the more that I pour into myself, I'm able to allow my cup to be full so that I can pour into my daughters and anyone else that's around me. So I think that it's definitely different in that perspective. And I don't lean on other people to emotionally validate me. And I lean more on God for those things and just allow God to show me and to give me discernment on how to move and how to, have wisdom and things like that. So that's how things are different now.
Yes, and I can see it. I can see it. You are glowing. And I love that for you. We met, I think, initially as you were going through your separation. And so I definitely see it. I see you on social media. I love seeing you thrive and grow. And I'm always here cheering for you in the background. So know that. And I love the work that you do. Your authenticity really shines through. And I know you are a light in the world that God is using for his glorification and to help others. The last thing as we begin to close out tonight that I really wanted to touch upon is do you want to get married again?
Absolutely. I believe in marriage. I love marriage. I love having a core family and being able to build with someone spiritually, mentally, physically, to build legacy. I want to be married again. Absolutely. I love marriage. So.
I know for me, I only have one. You have four. But I struggled with, will anyone ever want to marry me again? And it's those negative things. I know it's the devil planting those seeds. Not only did I have a child, but for some reason, I just thought having a male child, like no man's going to want to raise another man's, another man's son, Oh, they love the girls, but they don't love the sons. Did you struggle with that idea with you having children? As you talked about, the possibility, you begin to toss around the possibility of getting married again.
Absolutely. I have definitely gone through the whole notion in my head, no one's going to want me. I have 4 kids. They're young kids. I am divorced. I felt like, especially if you see a lot of these YouTube channels out here, they will make you feel like you are damaged goods, right? And so I had that plan consistently in my head. And I also felt like I was nervous too about the thought of it as well, because I'm like, you don't really know a person, especially, and I have girls, right? I have all girls. And so it's nerve-wracking to think as well, like, okay, if I bring someone into their life, is this person here for me? Are they here for my kids? Like, are they a predator? And so it's just all of those things that go through your mind. And so I'm just waiting on the Lord to give me discernment to guide me, but definitely so. I've definitely struggled with all of those things. So yeah.
Right.
For sure.
And I just want to be an encouragement because, like I said, I know we're not the only ones, women out there who have children have to also, some do, but some don't. But for those who do, with God, all things are possible.
Absolutely.
When you do your work, and that's why I'm so passionate about the work I do. When you do the necessary preparation work of healing yourself, working on yourself, doing the self-love, being the best version of you that you can possibly be, what you attract into your life will be so much different than where you were before. And when you're walking by faith and when you have that belief and you know who God is and you know that God wants the best for you, you're even willing to wait for the best.
Yes.
Right? And like you said, you're listening to his voice, so you will have discernment. And let me tell you this, is that when you become that good thing, God will deliver to you a king who is not afraid of taking on your children as his own, right? And loving them as his own. A true king already has dominion, right? Of his territory, of his finances. So adding 5 more people underneath that is nothing, right? That is nothing to them. And this has always been my prayer, as much as I know that I am purposed to be a mother, I know that man who is meant for me, God has purposed him to be a father, right? And so he knows he is built for that, just as I'm built for that. He will, just as people tell me, you are your son's mother. God designed you especially for him. And I know that is true. He is my greatest blessing. That same man that God is going to bring into your life has been fashioned specifically for you and for your girls. And I say that to all the women out there who might be struggling with that same idea that we had, Stacey, that who is going to love me? Who's going to accept my kids? And the reality of it is, and God sees this, He is all knowing, that there are so many people in and out of the church that have already gone through a divorce, right? So there's divorced people out here. There's divorced people out here with kids. And that there are going to be blended families. We're seeing the blended families on the rise. And so these things are not hard for God, right? He can bring that all together, even in His divine plan, for Him to be glorified and for us to be able to glorify to others. That is my prayer. That is my hope, that my marriage will glorify God, but it will also give hope to others, especially Black men and women, families, that this is possible and that it is good, and that it is such a blessing, right? This institution of marriage. And so, yeah, I hope and I know that everything that we have shared tonight will bless someone, right? And that that this message will be replayed. Please share it if you're watching it now. That it might help someone in their journey of becoming life after divorce, that they will continue to thrive, that they will continue to pick up the pieces and move forward boldly with hope, knowing that God has something special planned for them and that all is not lost. They can still find joy and peace, as Stacey talked about, that they can find wholeness, and that they can find joy in the midst of it all, and purpose, that you are here for a purpose, that this does not discount you, does not discount your worth, and does not discount how God can use you. That's the one thing I love about God, Stacey. He uses people, right? You could see it all throughout the Bible that other people have discounted, that other people have counted out. God likes to use those people because that's when He shows up and shows out. And so, again, I speak that over your life. God is going to continue to show up and show out in your life and the life of your girls. And I'm just so happy and thrilled about all that you are putting your hands to. May God continue to bless you in your work. If people want to stay connected to you, how can they stay connected to you, Stacey? And get a copy of this new book that we released in March.
All right. So you guys can follow me on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook at Stacey S. Crawley. In terms of my book, you can go to my website. You can go to staceyscrawley.com. And you can find my book on there as well. And it's called Becoming Her. So go purchase your copy and definitely follow me and get on my email list so you can see what's coming up next for me. Thank you.
Awesome. Any last minute imparting words of wisdom that are on your heart?
Just trust God. Just trust Him through any and everything. Know that you're not alone. Know that you are not the only one that has ever gone through this or who will ever go through this. But understand that when God is in it, He's going to bring you on the other side. Whether it, even if your version of how you think things are supposed to be doesn't match your reality, understand that God has something bigger and better planned for you. So keep going, trust Him, surrender to Him, and know that He's got you.
Amen. Thank you so much for your yes this evening.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you
for
having me.
Yes, absolutely. All divinely aligned. Absolutely. All right, everybody. Take care. Have a good evening. Bye.